See, it helps if you unmute yourself, Josh. If you mute your mic for the intro song, but then don't unmute it when you're actually trying to do the cold open and talk to people, it's not going to work. But now it works. Hello, everybody. It is April 29th, 2021. Season 4 is here. Who would have thunk Josh and I could actually do something mediocrely for 4 seasons? Well, I guess the 4th season just started, so I guess it's not a complete 4th season, but it just feels right. It's draft night. I'm hype. I've been doing a lot to prepare, but let's not dawdle anymore, Josh. Let's let Walters rock us right into this thing, huh? Podcast number 71.
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're gonna need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do, except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
Thank you, Walters. We are, in fact, Garlic and Josh. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson. I am joined by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Say hi to the folks, Josh.
Hi, folks.
I'm so proud of you, Josh. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com, Facebook.com/hoodpod, and Anchor.fm/hoodpod are all the different places you can interact with us, and we would appreciate if you did so. The segment start times will be down in the description below for you audio listeners or you late YouTube listeners. Obviously, if you're live, I don't know when a different segment's going to start yet, so don't expect such high things from me. I'm not capable. At Levi Oki Illustration is the man, the myth, the legend, responsible for all the beautiful art you see in front of you, whether it's the podcast art or the overlay behind us right now on YouTube. So thank you, Levi Oki. Josh, season 4, spring's here, the birds are chirping, the sun is shining, it's NFL draft night. How are we feeling, pal?
Well, Gar, you told me not to do something, and I did it. I don't think I had a choice because for the last 2 hours, my phone's been blowing up. Rodgers is done. He's gone. Hey, Raj, dead.
I mean, is that... I was going to wait till the FanTASTY Zone for that, but do you want to get into it right now, Josh? We can talk about it right now.
There's nothing to talk about.
Okay, well, we'll save it for the FanTASTY Zone, Josh. How was your...
There's nothing to talk about.
We're going to talk about it again. How was your spring been? Obviously, our last podcast was still back in 2020. We probably should have pushed to have one more, cut up that last episode into 2, but I insisted on not doing it because I'm a jerk. We're now in 2021. You've had about almost 5 months off. How are we feeling? Are we rejuvenated? Are we happy? Is your seasonal affective disorder subsiding?
Oh, yeah. No, it's... Well, I don't know, because as a Packers fan, this is about when the seasonal effectiveness disorder begins, because the draft is never a strong point. Especially after last year. So I'm hitting it in full swing. I've got myself a nice, I don't know, what would you call scotch, tequila, and bleach?
I think we'd call that a fun cocktail, Josh, but we'll get into your sponsors in the FanTASTY Zone, but that does look tasty. But so this is where your depression really kicks in, huh? You're not looking forward to tonight, the nights following?
I mean, I was looking forward to tonight until that news broke, because there is a little bit of nerves there, but at
where
the
there's
same
smoke,
time,
there's fire, potentially.
Yep, no. I'm just trying to hold my breath. I already know the last time that I stayed up to watch pick 29, they traded it away, so I just know that that's going to happen. But I should be able to catch, the Jags pick before going to bed.
Well, I mean, if you're lucky. I know you're an old man. You got to get to bed. The last thing I had here was it's already season 4. This is episode 71, podcast 71, wherever you want to talk about it. Season 4 for us. We start with the NFL season. So it's start of the season 4, but we're only 2.5 years in, but we appreciate you guys, all of you who are still here, that you've been rocking us since the beginning, or if we've picked you up along the way. We are grateful for you, and there's plenty of different ways you can support us, but we'll get into that probably a bit later. right now, listening is enough, and we appreciate it, because if Josh and I just talk to a wall for an hour, or maybe like 20 hours a year, we'd probably need psychiatric help. So we appreciate the few of you that do listen, and it is fun for us. So now, Josh, in a shock to the world, you actually started the note sheet coming into this podcast, and you picked what the first segment is. So I'll let you kind of talk about what our first segment is here.
This is the Walters' comedy bit.
Oh,
for those
okay.
of you who are new to us.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who are new, Walter's comedy bit was a highly successful segment that we held last year at this time. It was a fan favorite that lasted approximately 30 seconds.
That's not bad.
And there's a slideshow, I believe. There was, I don't know. But this is the moment of silence we're going to take for whichever drug-induced cocktail we were on when we agreed to let him have a comedy bit. All right, he doesn't deserve much more than that. Anyways, Gar, how you doing?
Good. So that was the whole segment, or do we have any other mistakes to reflect on during this time?
I don't know. Was he ever a guest on our show after that?
I believe we did a three-way with him last year mid-season, I believe, because his podcast host had abandoned him, so we adopted him for a week.
That's right. Yeah, and then that's when their viewership boost went up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I heard it skyrocketed, but that's just me. But no. All
Everyone
fun.
loves a train wreck.
Yeah, we appreciate Walters for trying that out. But yeah, I mean, didn't work out. He went on to have his own, mediocre podcast just like we did last year. So the way she goes. Josh, you've already kind of spoiled one of your sponsors, but let's move into the FanTASTY Zone, a fan favorite segment. Who are our sponsors for the FanTASTY Zone tonight, Josh?
Lagavulin.
Lagavulin. What year?
I don't know. It's 11-year-old age scotch from you. You bought it for me.
I brewed it myself, Josh, especially in my basement toilet. So I hope it's of the highest quality for you.
It tastes like sweat and tea.
That's exactly how it should taste. I got, Josh, is there, by the way, while I'm going through my sponsors, is there any chance you can up your brightness like we talked about the other day? You're looking a little grim. Maybe it's perfectly setting your tone for the night because of the news that came out. But if there's any chance you could up your brightness.
I was gonna hang a black sheet over my screen, but.
Anyways, I've got a gift we got, or not we, because Josh didn't get any, but a gift I got last year, Arizona Peach Iced Tea. This is can number 9. Out of the 24 pack I got, the rack. That is delicious. And then I've also got the last bit. It's kind of sad, but just the last bit of a bag of Dots pretzels. So I'll be munching on those. Josh likes to be crunchy and annoying, so I'll be crunchy and annoying.
When did you win the lottery?
Well, let's just say my mom might have given me some Dots pretzels for Easter, and I'm just finishing the bag right now. The fact that they lasted a whole month, I'd say, is pretty much an Easter miracle, but... Josh appears to be struggling with the lamp right now. He was able to make it much brighter yesterday. I don't know what sort of witchcraft he used to really brighten up his face yesterday, but apparently he cannot use the same method today. But I do appreciate the effort he's going through. Look at that. Now you've got like a light and dark, a yin and yang thing. That's beautiful, Josh. That's beautiful. But these people don't want to... Ooh, are you talking into your mic right now? Oh, there we go. So 17...
Gosh, I'm ugly.
17-game season is the first note you put in here for this FanTASTY Zone as news. Josh, are you pumped?
I don't know. Not really, because I'm not a big fan of teams not going 500 unless there's a tie. I want the teams that go 8-8 every year. Make it happen, but
so I mean, it's not the what? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. And then it's going to mess with the fantasy playoffs. I've had a streak of finals appearances, and this is just going to throw off my whole midseason push.
I mean, if you say so. I guess my initial plan just for the redraft was just leave it the same schedule. There's just 1 week later. And then for Dynasty, I was thinking, well, maybe not for Dynasty because I wouldn't want to change the rules now, but there's an option in Sleeper to do, 1 rounds up until the championship and then a 2-week championship. So that's an option. But otherwise, I was just going to leave it the same, and then there'd just be an extra week of football, but we can talk about that later. But we knew this was coming. It was in the new CBA last year. That's why we talked about the 256 being our final 256 last year. because we knew this was coming. So, we had the foresight. A lot of people seem surprised by the news some way, somehow, but if you just pay attention to the NFL and the news, you knew the 17-game season was coming. So I can't wait for the Vikings to go 10-7 and for that to still sound absolutely terrible, because there's now 17 games. So that's that. And Josh, in another bit of news, I know I didn't put it in the note sheet, but here we are going to have to talk about a little bit of news that has dropped today. And you said there's nothing to talk about, but let's hear from someone else, a Packers owner, in fact. Let's see what they had to say about the news today.
I mean, you alienate the fucking guy. No wonder he doesn't want to fucking come back. He's done. It's over. That's the end of it. Hey.
When you say alienate, what do you mean by that?
Every opportunity you've had to piss this guy off, they've done with bells and whistles. It's like, hey, what can we do today to maybe, get Rodgers the fuck out of here? Oh, I get it. Let's call a press conference and say, hey, he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. But, we don't know. Hey, let's not give him any money. He doesn't have any guaranteed money left on his contract. Let's just kind of leave that sitting pat. He's not going to give a shit about that. He just won an MVP. What does he have to be mad about? I mean, it's just, goddamn negligence from the top of the organization to the bottom. I don't blame the guy. It pains me to say it. It hurts. But, listen, the writing's been on the wall for a while. We've known this, okay? We've known that something needed. You got to do something. You had to do something. And they didn't do a goddamn thing. So
and then he goes on to talk about more. I didn't want to play it too long of a clip. But Josh, is that the sentiment you felt initially, and then you've cooled down, or have you felt the same way the whole time? Or are you in such denial that you refuse to believe this is even possible?
Nope, nothing. No news. Nothing to talk about.
So would you be sad if you have already seen Aaron Rodgers' last game without even knowing it? Or not his last game, but his last game, in a green and yellow uniform.
Well, from what I understand, they own his contract, so they'd just be eating a lot of money because he wouldn't play for another team unless he gets traded. So he'd have to retire and host Jeopardy, or he'd have to
Which
sit
he
in
could.
California.
And
he could if he does. It's as Bill Belichick says, on to the next one. On to Miami or whatever he says.
So
on to love.
So it kind of sounds. Are you Team Pack then? So if you had to draw a line in the sand, Team Pack, Team Raj, are you Team Pack?
No, I'm Team Raj in this situation. I agree with what Ty Schmidt had said there. He's an owner. He has the inside news, so he knows. He's in the meetings where they said, you know what, let's duct tape his car to the ground, and just stupid things like that. I have seen some tweets from like MVS and Adrian Amos saying, y'all don't know what's going on. Don't listen to the media, that sort of thing. But maybe they don't know what's going on because, well, MVS couldn't catch on to anything if his life depended on it, and Adrian Amos was a bear, so he doesn't make the best life decisions either.
That's brutal. So now, Josh, I won't beat a dead horse here, or feed a fed horse if you want to use the PETA approved lines these days. I won't feed a fed horse, but let's just one last thing. Today happens to be the NFL draft. So, if you were to believe that this news drops right before the NFL draft, there's no way that's a coincidence, right? It just happened to be that today Shefty got the news, and then today that's kind of what happened. There's no way that this is to get people to watch the draft or to tune into ESPN or the NFL Network or nothing like that, right? No chance.
Well, I just think that they were sitting there trying to decide. So we don't have much to talk about tonight between picks. And these teams like to take 14 minutes and 49 seconds or 59 seconds of their 15-minute pick. Trevor Lawrence is 1. And then we're pretty confident Zach Wilson's 2. So that's 30 minutes where we're just going to have dead air, essentially. I know what we should do. Rodgers isn't happy. He has a scowl on his face every once in a while. Let's pick on him.
So again, so wait, are you saying this was coordinated or this was just a coincidence?
Oh, yeah, it's coordinated. It's coordinated from all the way up at the top. I'm coming for you, Goodell. This is going to be bigger than the civil rights movement. March on so wherever he lives.
Do I leave my tinfoil hat on for the rest? Because I was hoping you were going to say, nope, no chance. And I was going to rip the tinfoil hat off and be, feel relief. But do I have to leave this tinfoil hat on for the rest of the show then?
Well, yeah, it just looks like you're getting a perm.
Well, maybe I am, Josh. I've been treating myself a little bit.
Treat yourself.
All right.
No, all seriousness, I do have, like, part of me is like, well, yeah, I mean, this isn't news. He was upset after the loss in the NFC Championship game with the decision to kick the field goal. He was upset with the draft, but he also said, this is the most fun I've had playing football in years. He had an MVP season, and we re-signed his buddy Aaron, and Devontae is still on the team. So it's not, I don't know. It's a unique timing for this news to drop when everybody knew that there has been some rumblings, because the tweets that I saw after Schefter posted, he's unhappy, wants out of Green Bay, is they're working on a long-term deal. So it's like, okay, if they're working on a long-term deal, he hasn't necessarily shut the door on returning. It's just that they're not seeing eye to eye at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead, put down Patrick Mahomes' numbers and just say, here you go. 10 years, 100 billion.
That's basically what Mahomes got. Well, Josh, we appreciate you reacting to that. I know we were kind of must see or must hear podcasting with you being such a big Packers fan as you are. I mean, we got you wearing a goddamn cheese hat in our logos everywhere. So, I mean, the people know. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. We'll kind of fly through the rest of the FanTASTY Zone here. We had some Facebook interaction leading up to the draft. I've been making daily posts just to trying people interact. First post went great. Had like 5-6 comments on the first post, and then the rest of the post, pretty much only Brian commented on. So, we appreciate you, Brian, and we appreciate everyone else who commented a week ago. First question was, how many QBs are going to be off the board? Micah said 5. Austin Mayhew, a guy I'm not sure I know who that is, he said 5, or off the board by the time the Vikings pick. Jack said 4, put it on the board. Hammer said something to ponder for sure. And then I followed up, I was like, would we take Trey Lance if he fell to 14? And Hammer said, nah. I'm sure that's something the Packers would love to see, though. So that was Hammer's input. And then Brian, our numbers guy, said, I would think like 15 quarterbacks going to be off the board by pick 14. So I think it's time to put Brian out to pasture. I think he's finally outlived his usefulness as our numbers guy. And, what do you think about that? 15, I mean, 15's more than 14, Josh. Am I right about that?
I'm not the numbers guy.
Well, shit. I guess Brian can stick around then. The next one was, who are some of the derpiest looking players in the NFL? This time, only Jack commented, and he said, love the guy, but it's got to be Peyton Manning and that big-ass forehead. So, thank you, Jack.
Hang on. Has he not seen Gronk?
How dare you,
Gronk's
Josh?
a pretty derpy-looking dude.
Gronk is very handsome, and you know it. Day 5, I said just about every NFL player goes on to support a cause bigger than themselves. What are some of your favorite player-driven causes? The only commenter was Brian, and he says, I like the Jeff Gladney Bail Fund. So Brian is writing checks for Jeff Gladney. We appreciate that, Brian. The Skull Nation appreciates that. Day number 4, question 4 was...
Well, hang on. I was going to answer day number 3, and then I must have gotten lazy and forgot to push submit. But
well, why don't you wait till I get to day 3 then, pal? We're going on to day 4.
The causes.
Oh, well, that's day 5. Well, that's 5 days away. But go ahead. Yeah.
I thought you said the NFL player support causes, Brian.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm just saying that was 5 days from the draft. Like, that was posted 5 days ago. It goes from 7 to 1. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I couldn't comment a day late. But yeah, I was going to say Brandon Marshall has a great cause.
What is it? Go ahead. Elaborate.
It's the mental health of athletes, or mental health in general, since he suffers from bipolar disorder. Got fined for wearing cleats. He's actually one of the reasons why my cleats, my cause is a thing.
Yeah, he likes to. It's the lime green cleats. Or that's the color they're kind of like. And is it bipolar? Yeah, I thought it was a borderline personality disorder that Brandon Marshall had.
It was one of those. It was a personality,
but a serious
disorder.
mental illness for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and his a day or his football life documentary deal was pretty interesting. Learn about it. So even as a Bear, he's up there in players I respect.
There you go. So day 4 was running backs have been known to fall off a bit during their second contract, but Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook are off to a good start. How will Aaron Jones do now that he secured his bag? The only comment was from Brian. He asked a question. He said, only one question. Who is Aaron Jones? And so that's a yikes, but I replied to Brian. Josh, you'd be happy with this. I don't know if you saw, but I replied to Brian with a GIF, and that was the GIF of Aaron Jones last year. Game of the week, playing the Cowboys, and he just did Was it a peace sign or no? It was a wave. He did like a wave as he was running into the end zone.
Oh, I did the Tyreek. That's my bad.
Yeah, there you go. So 3 days away from the draft or from our debut was Dan Bailey is gone. Which rookies or free agents should the Vikings bring in for the kicking competition? The only comment was Brian. He said Fuad. I guess I don't know if I pronounced that right, but that's an old Vikings kicker. I mean, you'd have to be kind of old to get that reference, but no, at least got to give Brian credit for contributing. Moving on to the Silver Fox has been kicking rocks for a long time. Who do we think will be the first NFL player to play into their 50s? Brian says George Blanda. He says, I take that back. He was 48. And then I ask, well, who's will be the first? And then he said Michael Henningsworth. And I Googled that name very quickly. I don't know if that's a real person, Josh. Is that name, that reference mean anything to you? Because I didn't get the joke, if there was a joke to be had.
If I remember right, he lined up opposite Hingle McCringleberry. So
oh, is that what it is? See, I've only seen bits of that skit. I haven't watched it all the way through, I don't think. But and then Bradley, we got a rare Bradley cameo. He said TB12 will be the first player to play into his 50s. So I think that's probably the realest answer we can get. One last post, yesterday's post. How many years do we think Kirk will be the Vikings QB after that? Realistically, do the Vikings bring in another free agent vet to start as we historically have, or will we have a young QB ready to take his place? Who might that be? Brian, the only comment, says they will not pick QB in the first. Cousins re-signs for 2 more after this upcoming stellar season. So the answer is 4 more years of Cousins. The Vikes will go 12-5, make it to the NFC title game. Some guy who we have never heard of as of yet goes wide right for the win as time expires. And so I was proud of my comment back to Brian. All I said was, this comment reeks of decades and decades of trauma. I love it. So thank you, mainly Brian, but also a few others who contributed to our, our daily post leading up to the draft. And we appreciate the interaction. We can get it. All right, Josh, let's move on to some free agency talk here. We recorded a bit of free agency thoughts before free agency even started. So this is beginning of March. Do you have anything you want to say before I play that, or should I just play it and then we'll talk about it afterwards?
You said it's how long?
Just 5 minutes.
All right. Yeah, go ahead and play it. I'm going to see if I can't find something to do on my phone.
Okay. Here we go. If it wants to play it. There we go. All right, we're just recording because fuck it. So, Josh, free agency is going to open here on Wednesday, and the tampering window begins Monday. So there's already a couple probably rumors swirling around on who might go where, but I figure let's get in here, let's record now before we start to know all the hot rumors. Just start going through who have the Packers cut, what sort of cap casualties have they had, if any, because I don't know how pretty or not pretty they were looking with the reduced cap this year, and then talk about who they should go after. But first, any cap casualties?
I think the biggest casualty is that for free agencies, we're not going to be able to re-sign Corey Linsley, who's been our star center, or Aaron Jones, who has been the best dressed on the sidelines.
That's what it's all about.
We also might not get Jamal Williams, so we'd be stuck with the Quadacy himself, AJ Dillon. Robert Tonyan is a free agent, which is kind of scary. I'm just hoping he gets re-signed. How about you? How's the Vikings looking?
Well, the Vikings are definitely more of a top-heavy team. We like to pay our guys, no secret to any Vikings fans out there. So a couple cap casualties we've had. Kyle Rudolph was a big notable one. Dan Bailey, not unexpected. And then Riley Reif. A bunch of people who are no longer under contract, so just unrestricted free agents. Anthony Harris, Eric Wilson, Rashad Hill, the legend Sean Mannion, Amir Abdullah, Dakota Dozier. A couple big-name cap casualties, and then a couple guys who just won't be back due to other contractual situation. And I guess they could be re-signed for a couple mil, vet min, whatever, but most likely not going to be back if I had to guess. I don't. Maybe you touched it. Maybe I just wasn't listening, so I was thinking of my own thoughts. But who do you want the Packers to go after then? How much cap space do you got right now? And then who should the Packers make a stab at?
Yeah. I think that re-signing our guys is the more important part. I know they're still trying to work on Aaron Jones. Do you really think they can afford him though? That guy wants his bag, brother. Yeah, no, and I don't think they can. I'd rather get Lindsley, but he's also going for 15 million a year. To be honest, I don't know enough about the people that are on free agency right now. It'd be nice to get a wide receiver, but the guys that are available, like Juju, there's no chance that they are able to pay him. Solidifying O-line might be a nice option, but not able to afford that. I think right now we have $2 million. We're just under the cap. So
They're just squeaking by is what you're telling me.
yeah.
Yeah, so for the Vikes, I mean, obviously there's been a couple notable guards cut. I think the biggest one is Zetter. I'm too lazy to look up his real name right now, but he's got cut from the Giants. And then also Trey Turner, whatever his name is, Trey something from the Chargers. He had a bad year last year, but historically a good guard. So we'll see what the Vikings do. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect the Vikings to do anything that sexy either. I mean, people want Anthony Barr just to be straight up cut or to take a pay cut, which I don't think Anthony Barr has any incentive to do either. I'm always on the player side. I'm not saying any of the guys on our team should, take a pay cut for the betterment of the team. They should, get what they deserve and what they earn through negotiation. Daniil Hunter, I guess another thing to watch if he holds out, because he probably wants more money because he's definitely criminally underpaid, but we signed him before he was big, so that's how that works. But I don't know.
Yeah, enough. I mean,
go ahead.
Daniil Hunter is going to demand 50% of your guys' cap.
Think so?
Give me.
We're done with Vikings talk, done with Packers talk. Do you think before we talk again, so about a month from now, approximately mid-April, like I said, do you think Wilson will have moved or Watson will have moved or any other notable trades will have happened between now and the next when we officially podcast?
I'm sure there will be. I'm thinking Wilson more so than Watson. But the Texans GM or whatever just had a press conference where he said he didn't even know Watson wanted out. So that organization is the absolute epitome of dumpster fire. Like, you thought the Browns were bad for the last decade. The Houston's just like, hold my soda.
Yeah. Gotcha. So no, all right. So we're thinking Wilson will move more likely than Watson, but yeah, the Texans they're distracting the entire league. If anyone else has some shit going on right now, the Texans are taking all the heat. So I guess that if the Vikings fuck something up, I can just be like, well, at least we're not the fucking Texans, pal.
Right. I mean, Spielman knocked a kid over just to steal his ice cream cone, and no one's talking about it. So.
All right. Well, future Gar, future Josh, wake up. Your nap's over. Is there anything you want to say to your future self, Josh, about a month from now?
Brett Hundley's a free agent. Don't fall for it.
Don't fall for it. All right, future Gar, I'm sure you're looking dashing. All right, see you later. Well, I guess I'll stop recording. Well, Josh, that was that. Those were our pre-free agency thoughts.
SU was spot on. You are dashing, sir.
Thank you. And you were right. No one went on to talk about Rick Spielman knocking over a kid to steal his ice cream cone. So I guess we successfully swept that one right under the rug, pal.
And Jeff Gladney getting arrested. I mean, people talked about it for about 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden 18 more women came forward on Watson. So there you go.
At least we're not the fucking Texans, pal. Works like a charm, just as I predicted.
Think I could use that same excuse?
You could try. It depends on who you're using it to. Some people might care and some people might not. But Josh, let's keep her rolling here. Obviously, the people could hear what you said. You heard what you said. You had a chance to listen to it prior as well. What did you think the Packers were going to do at the beginning of the March, and then what actually ended up happening?
I mean, honestly, I was kind of shocked at kind of how spot on I was with a lot of it. I thought Lindsley, Jones, and Williams would walk. Resetting a lot of our guys was a big priority just because, I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship game, so it wasn't a bad team. I was hoping to sign a wide receiver, even if it was a small name guy like Deshaun Jackson. I don't know if I mentioned it in the. I don't think that sounded.
You did. Well, yeah, you mentioned it, not in the one that just played, but when we were actually talking, you mentioned Djax, Curtis Samuel, even Juju.
Yeah, and I knew Juju would be too expensive. Curtis Samuel ended up being more expensive, and then Corey Davis was one of the higher paid guys too, which I did not see coming. So it was hopeful, but not necessarily expected, just based on what the prices would be. And I mean, what happened was basically that, except Jones re-signed and Tunyon got sorry Robert, Big Bob. He got a second round tender, so no one was going to touch that. which is nice because I think that tight end is one of those positions that we struggled with while Rodgers has been under center and continues to be under center. But getting Jones re-signed, and I think you and I had a conversation about the team-friendly deal. I mean, it's a lot of money when it comes down to the per year, but the upfront with this low salary cap year, it's not the worst contract for a team. It's not like he's getting $15 million a year and it starts now. It's I think it's only a couple million this year.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, so I mean, it sounds like pretty much as expected. No flashy signings. Pretty much just have the Packers always have. Keep their homegrown talent or guys they sign early. They're not big on giving anyone huge paydays except for Rodgers, but that might be over. But yeah, I mean, they I think I had to cut it just for time, but the Packers didn't have a lot of cap room anyway, so it's not like they were going to do anything. The Vikings similarly did not have a lot of cap room, but they sure didn't sign a fucking guard, so that was cool. There's a bunch of guards that went other places. A guard or two also got traded as well. It's very possible the guards just didn't want to come to cold-ass Minnesota, but we could have made similar offers to what those guards went for. So it's always disappointing to see the signing of Dalvin Tomlinson. I want to make sure I get his name right. Tomlinson. That's right, Dalvin Tomlinson. That one is definitely kind of a par for the course Vikings signings. Allegedly, he was about the only D tackle of note in the whole free agency, so I'm not surprised to see Zim sign a guy like that, or Zim want a guy like that, especially if he's the only one. Andre Patterson, heralded coach on the D-line. And this one, I gotta say, pretty much, it's not like shocking, but it's definitely surprising. I gotta say, just about the whole world was surprised when we signed Patrick Peterson. I know I was shocked as shit. I didn't know that was an option. Josh, were you surprised when we signed Patrick Peterson?
Yeah, because I knew corner wasn't necessarily. I mean, you just drafted 2 corners last year. Both of them, not both first rounders, first and a second, right?
Yeah, Gladney was in the first, and I believe Dantzler, the next best one, was in the third. I want to say could also be
third?
The second, though. It's second or third. It's second day.
Okay, so relevant positioning for a draft, I guess. And
right.
So I was a bit shocked, but then also vet presence. 5 years ago, that would have been a signing that just put the nail in the coffin on like Green Bay and other teams because he was so dynamic back then. The last few years, he's fallen off, but it's still a vet presence. So I think that overall, it should be a beneficial signing. Dalvin Tomlinson, he was like the top D tackle available, and he was the only person of note on that Giants defense, from what I understand. And maybe he's a two-way player. Maybe he plays guard.
I mean, he's probably got the size for it. Maybe he's not quite tall enough, but I think he's got the weight and the power for it. So, you know what? Crazier things have happened, Josh.
Yeah. Rest of the league, I mean, there was a lot of movement this offseason. Most of it cuts and restructuring because of the salary cap being down so low. But I do see your notes here for the rest of the league. Clowney is a brownie. First off, that's one. It's a little racist. But that D-line, how many doll hairs would it cost for you to try and rush the ball against that D-line?
I mean, I'd probably do it for like $50. I mean, are they like in full pads and I'm just dressed like this, or am I fully padded up? 'Cause I mean,
no, just put yourself in an NFL situation. You're in the game. You're the running back. You're the running back that got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you get handed the ball and you're staring down Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and I don't know. Who's their D tackle?
I couldn't tell. Is it still Sheldon Richardson? Did they sign?
Probably. I don't know.
Vince Wilfork.
What would be your initial reaction seeing both those guys lined up on the outside? Because Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are going to be the guys that you're focusing on that defense, and they're on opposite sides of the field, I'm guessing.
I mean, my initial reaction would be like, yeah, this isn't great, but I mean, if someone's offering me money to do this, I mean, heck, pal, free money is free money. Give me a quick $50 and I'll let them tackle me behind the line. I mean, it's not like you're making me succeed by getting this money. So, I mean, I'd run against them. Hell, I might just fall over and still take the $50. Money's money, pal.
Oh, yeah, that turf monster tripped you up, didn't it?
Oh, you hate to see it. Yeah, but so...
No, I mean, that D-line, I think, is going to be scary. That defense was good in the first place. The Browns are one of my dark horse teams to actually make a huge run at it. I mean, they made the playoffs last year.
I don't know how dark horse they are now. I think that most of the world believes in them.
Yeah, right. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, but OBJ was injured, and then they kind of hit their stride. I would not be shocked to see a Green Bay Browns Super Bowl.
That'd be nuts. So yeah, Clowney is a Brownie now. The Pats pretty much got just about everyone else of note in free agency: Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Kyle Vanoy. I know there's big players I'm missing, but those are the three that come to the top of my head. Wilson R. Watson didn't move, but Deshaun Watson's situation has become interesting, and I'm not sure we even want to get into it, but if the allegations are true, fuck that guy, but if they're not, fuck those other people. So I'm sure the truth ends up somewhere in the middle, as it always does, but what a there's gross thing.
Yeah, it's despicable. If it's not true, or if it's true, it's despicable. If it's not true, it's that's still going to linger over his head, regardless of whether or not
he's
true.
already guilty in the court of public opinion for sure, just by the allegations.
Right. Outside of Texas, inside Texas, Texans fans, there's a lot on Twitter that are saluting and saying it was me, it wasn't him, that sort of thing. Yeah. But we had talked about it the other day, and the damning evidence on him is the 40 different masseuses that have come forward, the 22 that are against him, the 18 that are for him. 40 different masseuses, and those are the ones that are actually coming forward. It's like, no wonder he wants a trade. He ran out of people in Texas.
Yeah, I've never gotten a massage, so I can't speak to it, but 40 seems like a high number of unique masseuses for sure. Not even 40 sessions, 40 masseuses.
I get one like every 3-4 weeks, or I try to keep it on that schedule. And granted, I'm not making NFL money, and it's not my job to have a body that's in tip-top shape. But you find someone you like. It's like a barber. You find someone you like, you want to stick with that person. You don't want to go somewhere else. So maybe he's just really, really picky. Possible. But at the same time, maybe he's maybe really, really icky.
Josh, that could be. But we'll keep rolling here. We want to be out of here by 6:30. That's when Pat McAfee starts. That's when K-Fan starts. Real Draft's at 7, but there's no way we can compete with those other people. So we could probably...
They can't compete with us.
Well, that's true. We wouldn't want to embarrass them. So, Josh, we're moving on. What's next here? We got... we're talking about... Josh. Ready to talk some draft? Josh, I changed faster than you? That's ridiculous.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Josh Mitchell.
And I'm Garlic Johnson. Our top story tonight is, of course, the NFL Draft. In less than an hour and a half, 32 young men's dreams will come true when they are selected into the NFL and join a very exclusive fraternity. Their names could potentially live on in infamy. Josh, are you excited for tonight's draft?
Hell yeah, brother. I'm looking forward to watch these young men's dreams come true.
Well, Josh, I mean, I think it would be a mistake to not go back in time a little bit before we start tonight. I know there's a lot going on with the NFL draft, and like we said, 32 young men's dreams will come true. But as was alluded to earlier in the show, the draft time can be rough for some teams. So let's listen to a quick little audio bite about the experiences some may have in the draft this year or in years to come.
That's not now. There's been a trade.
The Packers have moved up to 26. The Packers have traded up, and they're showing Jordan Love, Utah State quarterback.
I swear to fucking God, if the Packers draft Jordan Love, I'm fucking done.
They may take Patrick Queen, the linebacker.
Could.
Yep.
Wouldn't hate that.
Zach Bond actually get the hometown guy. Get
Nah.
the Wisconsin kid.
Is that because you went to Iowa, Mel, or is that why?
Nah, don't give a shit about that. I'd rather have the other guy who's an athletic freak. I mean, I'm sure Bond's fine.
Here we go. The pick is in. Roger Goodell is waving again.
Come on,
I
Ty.
can't watch that.
That is very uncomfortable. Ty, embrace the future of the Green Bay Packers. They are selecting.
Oh, no.
The anticipation builds.
Oh, no.
I'm trying my best.
Oh, no.
Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Mel, how's the Green Bay Packers fans taking this, pal?
Well, Goot Coons, pack your shit and get out of town, okay? Because everyone who's a Packers fan fucking hates you right now, pal. If you're a Packers fan, you know where that guy lives. Show up in pitchforks.
Oh, my God.
Maybe throw a couple bricks or rocks.
No. You don't.
Let them know we're not fucking happy about this, okay?
Hey, Mel, you were one game away from the Super Bowl last year. Your team obviously had a couple holes to fill. You basically punt on this decision and go with a backup quarterback for at least 4 years with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, let's take the only guy who's going to fucking piss Rodgers off. The only possible pick that's going to make him fucking pissed at the organization.
Schefter just tweeted about us. Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee's show earlier. No respect for A.J. Hawk. Unbelievable. And said this. We haven't picked a skill player in the first round in 15 years, so that would be kind of cool, Aaron Rodgers said to us earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I recall.
He did.
Javon Walker, last fucking receiver the Packers took.
Oh, 2.
Good.
God damn it!
So everyone assumed they were probably going to take a receiver, didn't they?
Or someone to help stop the run.
I'm sorry, folks. I should have warned before that audio could have been triggering, but that was a reality for some last year. Josh, you happen to know a lot about the Packers. Do you think a team could have a similar experience this year, or do we think GMs around the league have learned their lesson?
Well, Gar, it's tough to say. You'd think that these men being employed in the position they are as high of a position as they are, some would say more influential than some politicians. They would learn from their mistakes, but after the news that has recently been released with Aaron Rodgers having some malcontent with the Packers organization, I would not be shocked for them to trade their MVP quarterback for some picks and acquire yet another first-round quarterback. Maybe this one with the name Jordan Haidt.
Josh, that is a possibility, and we will just have to see as the time goes. However, we do have full extensive coverage coming up right now, so maybe we'll pause our Packers thoughts and we'll get back to them in a little bit. Josh, 32 picks will happen tonight in the first round of the NFL draft starting at 7 p.m. Central.
Maybe more.
Well, no, it'll be exactly 32 picks. As of right now,
Or maybe more.
Again, Josh, I'm sorry if you were triggered by the previous audio. We just wanted to share history, so maybe the mistakes could not be repeated, or to potentially prepare our viewers for what could be a long night. But like I said, 32 picks will happen tonight, and then 28 teams are currently set to pick. 4 teams do not have a first-round pick, but they could always trade up. Other teams could trade out, so who knows how many teams will walk away with the draft pick tonight. But 32 selections will happen, and as of right now, the Vikings and the Packers each have one. We don't need to dive too deep on every pick, Josh, but let's just kind of go down the list here, starting at pick number 1, Jacksonville. It's been the belief by pretty much everyone on the planet that they will take Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Josh, do you expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to make that pick, or do you think we could be in for a surprise?
I think that they'd be foolish to make that pick, Gar. They've got somebody on their roster by the name of Gardner Minshew, who just so happens to be the number 1 overall quarterback in all sorts of statistical and analysis that you could make. But they are a stupid organization. That's why they have the first overall pick. Trevor Lawrence is most likely going to be off the board early.
All right, Josh. Go ahead.
Moving on to pick number 2, New York Jets, another team slated for a quarterback slot. They also have a secondary need of everything else. Garlic, how do you see their pick going?
Oh, well, it's an interesting question, Josh. Anyone who remembers last season, we thought the Jets were going to be a shoo-in for the number 1 pick in Trevor Lawrence, but in true Jets fashion, they were even able to screw that up and ended up winning too many games and are thus stuck with the 2nd pick, so they do not get Trevor Lawrence. Former coach Adam Gase is out of town, and now Robert Saleh, who was a very prestigious coaching candidate, is taking over the organization. To me, it is a bit surprising that in about every mock draft available currently on the internet and in other places, potentially our competing networks, that Zach Wilson, quarterback out of Utah, BYU, I believe, is slated to go number 2. And I do not believe Zach Wilson is thought to be the 2nd best quarterback in this draft. So that surprises me a bit. I'm not sure if you have any specific thoughts on Zach Wilson or why he's going 2, but I do suspect they will take Zach Wilson 2, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I do believe that there's a little bit of racism involved. A lot of it has to do with Mac Jones's previous Twitter posts, not to do with the other potential quarterbacks, but they just have they're looking for a quarterback with a cannon of an arm. And I don't know if you've seen Zach Wilson throw that pigskin around, but he can yuck it. Uncle Rico himself would be proud.
I have seen a couple highlights. He has been compared to Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers a bit with his arm talent. He just is not believed to be the most polished. So we will see in a couple years if Zach Wilson does turn out for the Jets. Moving on to pick 3, Josh, the San Francisco 49ers, they paid a king's ransom to move up to this 3rd overall pick. There has been wild speculation since they made that move. At the beginning, it seemed very clear they would take Mac Jones. Then Justin Fields heated up for a little bit, and as of just today, Trey Lance has made a very last-minute push to become the gambling favorite for the number 3 overall pick going to San Francisco. Assuming no Packers dreams are crushed and Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay and the 49ers select a quarterback here, who do you think is the ultimate quarterback to go to San Francisco and be coupled with Kyle Shanahan, offensive guru?
Well, my gut likes to tell me it's Trey Lance. I'm going with the most recent reports. I would also, the other 3, to me, they're all kind of muddled. Mac Jones being the kind of the lower of the 3, the Justin Fields and Trey Lance, though. Either one, I think that would improve that roster. They paid a king's ransom for Jimmy G, if I remember correctly. So who knows what they have going for them outside of that. But yes, quarterback is most likely on that on their mind for that first pick overall. Though they may trade out of it if they don't see the value in those guys and try and steal a quarterback from a particular Midwestern team that wears green a lot.
Kyle Shanahan, the Vikings don't wear green. It's weird you say that, but Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins have been linked many times, so that is always a possibility. Josh, we'll move on to the number 4 pick here in Atlanta. Atlanta could do a lot of things with this pick. What do you think they're going to do?
Well, they have a QB that's aging. They also have no tight end that can catch the ball, and they're struggling on defense, and they need some protection for their quarterback. But I do feel like they are going to go with that tight end, along with a lot of other reporters here. Kyle Pitts is going to be the one that is their favorite, but I would not be shocked if they went Penei Sewell or whatever his name is, that offensive tackle, the top offensive tackle. How about you, Gar? Do you have any strong feelings?
No, I mean, Kyle Pitts is the most linked to him, but I do think if Trey Lance makes it to 4, or if they're thinking they want to protect Matt Ryan for the gas left he's got in the tank, I think any of those picks would make a lot of sense. So I don't particularly think anything too strongly here at the pick number 4. Anything could happen.
Do we have a guest correspondent showing up today?
Well, Josh, if we're done with Atlanta, yes, we will move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. And because we are a reputable news network, we do have senior correspondents who are out in the field right now and who can report on some of the teams out there and what they could be doing tonight on draft night, or just some general news. So we do have a Cincinnati Bengals senior correspondent. His name is Micah. He is our Aussie friend from down under. And when I say down under, I literally mean down under. I'm pretty sure this guy works in the mines. Pretty sure he's a miner. So he spends a lot of time upside down underground. I'm not even sure how that works. Reports, or my sources are telling me he did sign a waiver. So let's see what Micah has to say about the Cincinnati Bengals pick at number 5.
Evening, Garlic and Josh. Welcome back to the new season in your podcast. Got me on tonight to talk about the Bengals and their draft prospects. It's nice not to be talking about our players getting arrested for once, like we are used to like 10 years ago. But as far as I'm concerned, whichever one of Sewell or Chase are there at 5, it has to be one, or I'll be booking my appointment to get my Bengals tattoo removed from my leg. My personal preference would be Sewell and a speed wide receiver later on in the draft, as Higgins, Boyd, and Tate can get the job done if Burrow is as good as we think. They need to get multiple linemen in the draft as well and hope a couple hit. In other Bengals off-season news, though, the uniforms. Wow. Just absolutely amazing. Straight fire. Like, probably the best you could have done with the horrid orange selection that they've got. Anyway, boys, have a good night, and I'll see you in the new season.
Thank you, Micah. We'll take it back here in the studio from there. So he likes to think it'll be Sewell or Chase, which I think are both possibilities. I think if this organization decides to not protect their franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow, they are fools. But if Sewell isn't there, Josh, do you think Chase is a good pick?
I mean, if Sewell's not there, yes, going with the wide receiver, another weapon. Somebody that allows Burrow to get the ball out quick, because even before they drafted Burrow, that offensive line is atrocious. And Micah, I'm sorry you have to cheer that for that team. We all have teams, or we all have years where our team does not perform. But I mean, they've had issues with protecting the quarterback for years. And last year was just kind of icing on the cake when their first overall pick ended up tearing his ACL. I do think that if Sewell's on the board, they'd be foolish to go with Chase. And I lean on, or I lean towards his direction with protecting their quarterback over finding him weapons. If you look at the great quarterbacks in the league, they make their weapons. They don't need weapons to make them good. So they have a great quarterback, or what people think to be a great quarterback. Protect him and let him show that.
Excellent, Josh. Thank you for your input. We will speed up here the next couple picks just because time is betraying us. Before we move on, though, and kind of skip over the next few, I would like to let you know that we are getting reports that Bradley Knupp, famous Hidden Oaks resident, is sending along a message of appreciation, and he would like to let you know, sweet flow, Jay. So I'm getting reports that Bradley Knupp is appreciating your hair flow this evening. Anyways,
I was recently inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, despite never playing in the NHL. It's been a dream of mine to be in a Hall of Fame of some sorts, other than the one that I made up myself. So thank you, Brad. I appreciate the recognition.
Well, that's excellent, Josh. Congratulations on your Hall of Fame induction as well. The next couple
Quite
picks,
easy to get in. It's the Hockey League.
Speeding through the next couple picks here, Miami, no one really cares about them. Detroit is literally the worst team in existence. Carolina, they seem to believe in Sam Darnold, so it's likely they will protect him. Denver could potentially go quarterback to give more competition to Teddy and Drew Lock. Otherwise, they could go defense, as that defense is not what it once was. Dallas, pretty much everyone has them taking a corner. The Giants are a dumpster organization. Philadelphia, we absolutely hate. Josh, the Chargers, what could they do with Justin Herbert, rising star? What could they do to improve that team?
Well, I think that with how he performed last year, he didn't have much time. He showed some ability to escape when he needed to, but and make plays. I think that they'd like the Bengals. They'd be foolish not to protect him. I know that you're a huge Chargers backer, and I have a soft spot for them as well, being a LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates fan growing up. Justin Herbert was somebody that I just absolutely loved to watch last season. So protecting him should be their top priority, but they did, from what I understand, lose quite a bit on defense. Injuries plagued them last year on defense, but I would say that get an offensive tackle, somebody to protect your star QB, and then worry about the defense in the later rounds.
Josh, I do have to cut you off right there. It sounds like your thought was concluded, but I do have a quick breaking story. I believe the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix has received its first ever monetary gain. We have received a gift or two in the past, but the Hidden Oaks Overdose has officially received its first dollar donation, if you will. Today in the YouTube description, I have put the tip jar along with my Venmo handle, and we have received
your Venmo. Got it.
That is correct, as I am the one who has invested pretty much every dollar into the show so far. But hold on, let me make sure I get the numbers correct. Yes, I can confirm and report to you that we have received a full $2 from the aforementioned Bradley Knupp. So not only does he appreciate your flow, but he does appreciate what we're doing as well, and he has tipped us for our service. So Bradley Knupp, you're a gentleman and a scholar, and to the moon, boys. Here we go. But thank you for your Chargers thought, Josh, and sorry for the interruption with the quick breaking news story. But let's move on to the Vikings, and I do believe we have a senior correspondent in the field by the name of Dusty Johnson. Do you mind sending it off this time to our senior correspondent in the field, Dusty Johnson?
Yeah, we're gonna pass it off to Dusty Johnson, a longtime fan of the show, senior correspondent, and a big-time fan of flower beds in pole carts.
Thanks, Josh. Yes, I am here reporting live from the TCO Performance Center in Minnesota. It is a very exciting day here in Minnesota. The draft is huge for the Vikings. Rick Spielman has definitely built up a reputation for being a shrewd and a efficient drafter. It is no secret that the Vikings need help on both the offensive and the defensive line, and they could improve those situations tonight at pick number 14. However, the organization have been telling me and would like me to remind you that the Vikings drafted 15 goddamn players last year. So, guys like Troy Dye, guys like James Lynch, and it's possible they still have a future in the NFL, even if they're not future Hall of Famers. So maybe take a chill pill and not forget what happened last year. However, something more serious has been brewing within the Performance Center over the last couple weeks. If you do the math, if you count it out, if you look at the board, there is currently a 64 pick gap between Rick Spielman's pick in the first round and Rick Spielman's pick in the third round, and that is the longest gap of Rick Spielman's NFL career. He is not happy about this. He has been seen pacing the halls, breaking things, swearing up a storm late at night in the Performance Center, and it has gone so far as employees reporting him to HR saying they feel uncomfortable being in the same building and the same state as him. So we will see what happens there. To make matters worse for Rick Spielman, Mike Zimmer, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, has made it no secret that he wants a corner with the first pick in this NFL draft. He is putting pictures of corners he likes in the bathroom, above the urinal, in the microwave, in Rick's office, in his car. There's nowhere Rick can go that he is not inundated with pictures of corners. So Mike Zimmer is pounding on the desk, both figuratively and literally, for his preferred pick this draft. There's one more thing important to note here. Just this morning, I was having a cup of coffee with Rick Spielman to get my last bit of tidbit draft news. And as he was getting up, the conversation wasn't that interesting, but as he was getting up, a piece of paper fell out of his pocket. I picked it up for him, and I was able to glean what the piece of paper said. The piece of paper said, "Trade back no matter what." So I'm not sure if he's channeling his inner Kevin Costner. I did notice he had been watching the movie Draft Day a lot in the recent days, but Vikings fans should be warned. It could be a long night, so buckle in and get some snacks. Back to you in the studio, Gar and Josh.
Thank you, Dusty Johnson. I appreciate your take. A lot of good insight there. I'm happy that our show has succeeded so much that we've got such great correspondents out in the field. Moving on, New England, do they even have enough space on their roster for more players? After the free agency, you'd think that they'd be at 95 already.
You would think that a roster would be full, Josh, and you would think they would have no more dollars to sign these players even as well. But there's been a lot of rumors recently that the Patriots are looking to move up in this draft to maybe take a Mac Jones if he starts to fall. Do you think they go quarterback? Do they sit put at 15? What does Bill do with a seemingly newfound strategy for this year?
Well, with how aggressive Mr. Belichick has been, I wouldn't put it past him to take a trade back in the first round if a quarterback had been offered to him. Now, I'm not naming names, but it might be something he'd love to see if he had a quarterback from the team picking at 29 on the board. So maybe a love-hate situation where a team moves up, New England gets their quarterback and sets them up for the future. Maybe, something that everybody else could love. And so that's kind of how I feel. They could move up for one, or they could move back and love what they do.
It's very possible, Josh. Definitely a lot of affection and emotion coming out of your answer there, and I think all the viewers will appreciate that. We will fly through a couple more picks here. Arizona, nobody really cares about them, but they certainly are on the rise. I'm looking most forward to what Cliff Kingsbury draft setup will be this year, as last year he definitely became a meme and was an internet sensation. Las Vegas, no one knows what Mike Mayock's doing. I love John Gruden, but they are doing weird things. Miami, it is possible they take a running back here. I'd love to see Najee Harris go off the board at 18. The Washington football team with Riverboat Ron is doing some weird things, but if a quarterback falls, do you think they'd take him, or do you think they'd want to protect Fitzmagic?
Don't you mean Taylor Heineke?
Josh, if you think Taylor Heineke beats out Ryan Fitzmagic in a in a quarterback competition, you are sadly mistaken, and I will have you institutionalized.
Well, I'm just saying, Ryan Fitzmagic has definitely made his rounds in the NFL, but I feel like his role as a backup has been pretty much solidified wherever he goes. So he may play 99% of the snaps, but Taylor Heineke is going to be their starter. If it's for one play, one series, it's just up to Riverboat Ron. If we were going off the best beard on the roster, Ryan Fitzmagic has it one. Doesn't matter which team he's on. Moving on to what your question was. Yes, they do protect him.
Excellent. That's good to hear. We are getting reports that our broadcast is making waves in the social media sphere. So another quick interruption. Famous viewer of the show, rival news network podcast host, Alex Williams is put out a statement saying that Dustin, I'm not sure who Dustin is, he might be referring to our previous Vikings correspondent, Dusty Johnson, but he says Dustin looked a lot like garlic there. I can't tell you what you're seeing. I don't know what you're talking about, but Alex, you might want to get a point. You might want to make sure your vision insurance is up to date because you might need to use some of it.
Purple Kool-Aid has been known to be linked to vision loss as well as hallucinations and delirious dreams.
That I heard all those things to be exactly right, true, and correct. All right, Josh, we're moving on to the Chicago Bears here, and we actually have another senior correspondent out in the field in Chicago reporting the latest from Chicago. His name is David Cushing, and he's going to give us the latest on the ground. David, please take it away.
Well, hello there, Dusty. You know, it's been one hell of an offseason for the Bears, and going into tonight, who really knows how much more Ryan Pace could fuck this up? Getting rid of one of our best cornerbacks we've had in the past 10 years in Kyle Fuller, and then throwing away half of our offensive line. Who really knows what we're going to do to try and protect our new quote-unquote franchise quarterback, Andy Dalton? Let's see. We'd start off. We'd love to get an O-lineman. We signed Andy Dalton, and we passed up on plenty of other great quarterback opportunities. So if we're going to get a quarterback in this draft, we might as well throw half the team away to get one of those top 4 picks. Love to see an O-line built up. We basically told Akeem Hicks he's free to try and sign with anybody else, so maybe we'll go for a D-lineman as well. You'd love to see Allen Robinson happy not getting double-teamed all year, and so maybe we bring out another wide receiver to complement Mooney on the other side, but who the fuck knows?
Thanks, David. So you mentioned going after a quarterback in the top 4, getting one of the top 4 guys. What happens if the Bears can't weasel their way in there and maybe even ignore the quarterback position early in the draft? What might the Bears do then?
You know, if we don't start going for a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, and you never know, we'd really like to see the offensive line built up. We brought Damian Williams in for the backfield, so hopefully we're not in any need there. The secondary could always be improved. We have a great front 7, regardless if we're trying to ship him away or not. We'd really like to see someone complement Desmond Trufant as well. So if we'd really love to focus on the offensive line, the D-backs, and, throw in a prayer for the quarterback. Wait, hold up here. Hold up. Yeah. All right, I'll tell him. Just heard from Ryan Pace. He said he's had so much fun this offseason that you can just throw your hat in the ring and he'll see whatever the fuck he can do to try and make this a little more interesting for Bears fans. Looking at another great 9-7, 8-8, 7-9 season. Any of those 3, honestly, would be pretty happy.
Well, thank you, David, for that excellent Chicago report. David seems to have forgot that the NFL will be playing a 17 regular game season, so 8-9, or was that 8-9, 9-8? Those are your best options. Do I have my numbers right? Jesus, I think I do. 8-9 sounds right. So no more 8-8. You could go 8-8-1 to go perfectly even, but that will change things. Josh, I believe we have. Do we have a correspondent for Indianapolis?
I feel like we do. I think that it's going to be a longtime listener and contributor, Levi Oki. He has been in the field. I believe he's been doing undercover work despite not needing to. We stressed to him that he had no need to wear full fatigues and a ghillie suit while walking around the Colts facility because it does nothing to hide him. But he did so anyways. I believe he's calling in now.
I believe so. Carmel Bear, Levi Oki, are you there? Are you there to correspond to us on the Colts?
Carmel here, camping outside of Jim Irsay's house, banging on his doors demanding answers from him and the Colts GM about this year's draft strategy for the Colts. Just like years before, Chris Ballard is doing his best impression of a rest stop bathroom and leaking the game plan he's made before it even has a chance to happen. Will the Colts trade back day 1? Yes. Will the Colts draft an offensive lineman early? Yes. What's obvious is that they're looking at Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame for tight end, Tre'Bell Cox from LSU for linebacker, and Ellerson Smith from Northern Iowa for defensive end. But what you don't know, and what I just recently heard from a friend of a friend who knows the guy who went to school with this lady who used to dog sit the Ballard's family pet, is that they're looking into this powerhouse player from Kent State. Standing at 6'5", 230 pure American pounds with a toilet seat forehead and the arm that I can only describe as a Space Force cannon, this player is everything we need. A competent QB that comes with accuracy and consistency. And what's even better is that he's not Carson Wentz. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome Maynton Panning to the Colts.
Maynton Panning. Now that's a name I haven't heard of. Gar, do you have any background information on this Maynton Panning? I mean, it sounds like our correspondent out in Indianapolis has a lot of information, something that we that seem to have passed us by. Do you have anything to add? Have you been in on this knowledge?
I can say I'm not. As you alluded to earlier, Carmel Bear really goes full in, and he can be off the grid for weeks, if not months, while trying to gather this information. I'm sure knocking out or pounding on the door of Jim Irsay's house does lead to a lot of this crucial information as the owner of the Colts. I would like to also let you know that sent in was an email from Levi Oki with the subject line, "Do not open until my segment is over, Colts Correspondent." Well, it looks like he has sent in a picture of Peyton Manning out of Kent State, Josh, and I since I didn't open this email until right now, I can't really adequately put it on the screen in a way that would be conducive for full quality, but I can just cover up Josh's picture for a second. And Josh, this is the picture of Peyton Manning, the future quarterback of the Colts. That is not Carson Wentz. Does he look like a handsome fella? Does he look like he's going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, he looks like a guy that you could land an airplane on his forehead, but he's got some noodle arms. So I just wonder how that's going to translate into NFL success if he needs to throw the long ball. He's got a decent mustache, one that would put, maybe a hair follicle on Carmel Bear's dad's mustaches, put a skirmish on that. But overall, he just looks like an average Joe that's probably better off making insurance commercials and singing country songs with Brad Paisley.
Josh, I think that's excellent reporting, and for doing that all off the cuff, I'd have to say that is probably the best take we're going to have before the NFL draft starting tonight. So thank you, Levi Oki, out in the field, for your continued work, and we look forward to more of your reporting, hopefully post-draft. So again, Josh, time is betraying us. We're going to have to keep flying here. Tennessee and the Jets, literally not a single person on the planet cares about those other teams. But we do have one, maybe two more senior correspondents in the field. This time with the Steelers, we have plenty of people we could have gone to. We could have gone to Titan. I could have gone to an old friend of mine. His name is Dane Young. He's out of Kentucky, some way a Steelers fan. But I figured let's go with the absolute, oh God, hold on. There we go. Sorry, I thought I'd lost the audio. The whole thing would have been dead. But I figured I'd go to the most qualified correspondent.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh my God. Easy, Erics. Hold on one second. I figured I'd go to the most qualified senior correspondent I can find. Someone who lives in Eastern Europe, aka the worst country on earth, Latvia. Erics, for our Steelers coverage. Erics, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. America. So let's talk about the Steelers. Unfortunately, I don't think this draft will highly impact the impending disappointment of barely missing the playoffs or being one of those one-and-done teams. The Steelers are not in an ideal spot before this draft, to say the least. Some bright spots in the offseason would include firing Randy Fitchner and being able to re-sign Juju on a very nice deal. But, to ruin my day, they also decided to bring back Ben. Unless they're planning to bring in a young guy who can learn from him, I don't really see the point in that move, because let's face it, they'll be playing in one of, if not the toughest division, and Roethlisberger just doesn't have what it takes anymore. Thank you for your service. It's time to go. I see a lot of people arguing that we went 11-0 to start the season with Ben, but the Steelers had a ridiculously easy schedule, and once our elite defense got banged up, we went 1-4 to end the season. Even with the pay cut, Big Ben is eating up a huge chunk of cap space, and it's not a given that this will actually be his last season, so it'll be interesting to see how they will deal with that and give TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick an extension as well. The biggest need for the Steelers in this draft is offensive line. They lost 3 starters in the offseason, including Mike Pouncey, who has been one of the key players for the Steelers. A lot of speculation is going on that the Steelers will pick Najee Harris at 24, and I absolutely love that pick. Harris is the type of running back that would be perfect for this offense and will be a huge help when they eventually replace Ben. If they go with Harris in the first, I hope they'll spend their second and third pick on the offensive line. And hopefully we can get Landon Dickerson from Alabama as well. Other needs include a cornerback and a QB. The Steelers have a pretty bad record for drafting cornerbacks, but hopefully they can borrow some of that wide receiver draft juju and apply it there. Although I don't see any really great ads in those positions later in the draft. Back to you.
Thank you, Erics, for that special Steelers report. Josh, do you have any follow-up thoughts for the Steelers?
Well, I think he covered it pretty well. At first, I honestly thought that it was one of those type-to-text programs in which you type in the words and then the robot reads it back. Had I not heard him speak before, I would never have picked up on it. So, he's very, very stoic, very professional in what he says and does. And so it should all be taken seriously.
Yeah, Josh, if you remember from our last year bonus pod, in Latvia, they put you in a burlap sack until you're 18 years old. And in Latvia, they also have only 2 butterflies, the white kind and the yellow kind. So it is a very depraved existence out in Latvia for Eric. So football might quite literally might be the only pleasure he has in this entire world. So Eric, thank you for giving us that report. We are running out of time, so Pittsburgh, after them, it's Jacksonville, Cleveland, Baltimore, New Orleans. Literally no one cares about any of those teams either. Josh, I leave all the Packers stuff to you. I am not sure if we have a senior correspondent in Green Bay or not. Will you be giving your thoughts on Green Bay, or do we actually have someone in the field who can give us the scoop from the ground?
Well, I will be reading the transcript from our correspondent in Green Bay, who has since been put into the drunk tank in Appleton, Wisconsin.
At least it's not Elk Mound.
Well, no, Elk Mound was too far of a drive, and it's already full for some reason. As of getting this message from our correspondent, he was in the drunk tank, and it was 1:00 in the afternoon, so no big deal, I guess.
Par for the course for Wisconsin, as far as I know, Josh.
I'm going to try and make out what he says and provide the most insightful report for our listeners. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the first page of text messages because all it says is Rodgers is done. Rodgers is done. Crying emojis. There's a lot of curse words that I will not say on the air because we like our position in this news network.
We're professionals.
There's some words in here that I'm sure are made up. Something about a goat's mother. Tom Brady cheats, steals the fountain of youth. Okay, so getting into his draft correspondence, the bourbon and whiskey may be doing some talking here, but here's how I feel the Green Bay Packers would make the most of their situation in the draft. After finishing the season with a disappointing loss due to the refs being complete, okay, just insert a bunch of explicitives, we will be back in the same position if and when Aaron Rodgers gets his head out of his ass and decides to sign this extension for free. Green Bay is in need of an offensive lineman to help with the opposite end of the field after losing a couple of different offensive linemen. David Bakhtiari has that ACL tear. Who knows if he's ready for week 1? And we lost not JC Treader, but we lost Corey Linsley, and we need to refill that slot. So an offensive tackle or an offensive lineman early in the draft would be quite nice. That being said, with Aaron Rodgers currently in the hissy fit that he is currently going through, I'm beginning to get, this is Josh here, I'm beginning to get some vibes that this man is not happy with how Aaron Rodgers is handling the situation. He said it would be nice to take this 29 pick and trade up to number 1 overall, draft Trevor Lawrence, and kick him to the curb and pee on Aaron Rodgers' corpse as it writhes in pain from David Bakhtiari betraying his friendship. I do want to, could we back up and erase that part?
Yeah,
I believe did not know where that was leading.
We're on a 7-second delay, and we have a dump button, so we'll get that off
perfect.
before it hits the. Yeah.
I apologize for that last outburst. I do feel like getting a skilled position player, such as a slot receiver, would help complement Devontae Adams, as well as the rising star Allen Lazard and Robert Tonyan. Some players at the position, Elijah Moore, who may be available, would be a nice addition. But if not, Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota, the rival state, just to watch them cry would be fun, even though he is an outside strong receiver. Other positions of need from late might be a linebacker, another cornerback opposite of Jair, since he's going to be demanding a king's ransom next season when his contract is up as well. Got to go now. Cops are here. Lots of lights, not enough. Okay. Yep, nope, that's just a picture of his genitals. All right, back to you, Gar.
We appreciate that correspondent's field work. It sounds like literally up until the last second before arrest, they were working for us. So the network appreciates it, and the network will be more than happy to pay their bail out of the drunk tank. But we might let them stew for a night, as I think they're probably best in there to protect them from themselves, protect them from themselves, if nothing else.
Yep, management sent out an email to the Green Bay side of things saying that we are not allowed to acknowledge, or not acknowledge, but we are not allowed to reach out to those that are placed in the drunk tank from that team to help with their bail in an effort to keep them safe from riots tonight. If in the if there is an incident with Aaron Rodgers, maybe moving up, drafting another quarterback in the first round. And so they are encouraging us to remain out of bars, remain away from alcohol, and potentially limit our cheese intake, as it is known to cause outbursts as well amongst Packer fans.
Excellent, Josh. Thank you for your wisdom. After Green Bay picks, we go on to Buffalo and Baltimore. Nobody cares. We did have a senior correspondent in the field in Tampa Bay for the Buccaneers, but it has since been reported to me that while he was finishing up the report he was going to give us right now, he was actually struck by lightning. So our senior Buccaneers correspondent, Jack Vickers, is actually dead. He is deceased, and may he rest in pepperoni. Jack, he will be missed.
How is Tom Brady handling this? I know that they were close, mostly from Jack's reports to us. It's most likely the situation the lightning struck him while his lips were wrapped around his phallus region. Is Tom Brady okay? Is the TB12 method able to reflect lightning? Is that why Jack died?
Yes, Josh, it is in fact a scientifically proven fact that avocado ice cream and ultimate body pliability will actually reflect any sort of electrical attack, whether it's lightning, putting a fork in a socket, or any other form of electricity. So while Jack was indeed on his knees in front of Tom Brady performing some sort of disgusting, vulgar act and was struck by lightning, Tom Brady simply deflected the blast back to Jack, and so Jack essentially got struck by lightning twice. So unfortunately, it was too lethal for Jack getting struck twice, basically at the same time, and so he could not make it. But Tom Brady is perfectly fine, and when asked for comment, he declined. So maybe we'll be hearing more after the funeral, potentially at a wake. We would love to see Tom Brady speak at the funeral, but I think we both know that will not happen.
I believe he's out celebrating.
That is also a possibility, Josh. But that will wrap up the first 32 picks of the NFL draft. The 4 teams currently without a first-round pick tonight and who will thus be sleeping are the Texans, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs. Josh, do you have any final draft thoughts before we send it back to our regularly scheduled programming?
No, I believe we can return to our regular program. It was a pleasure working with you, Mr. Johnson.
The same to you, Mr. Mitchell. I love this draft special report, and I believe the folks at home will be very satisfied with how we covered it. I believe we were both informative and extensive, and our senior correspondent's work stands head and shoulders above any other draft coverage you will find tonight. So with that, folks, we wish you a good night, and that's the way it was.
And as you may, and I apologize for stepping on your walk-off, but as you are well aware, we are the only reputable news source available during these times for your NFL news.
Correct. Yeah, we're the only podcast out there, the only news network that has a backbone, and we'll actually do shows in the spring when actual NFL stuff is happening. Anyone else stays home and they're cowards. So with that, we will send it back to what's on next, Josh. Survivor or like Love Island or Masked Singer? What's next?
I believe of those options, the network has gone with Dead Air. We got Black vs. White Ants. Oh, nope, that's just Static TV.
Well, folks, enjoy your Static TV. Good night. Ooh. It's a pretty good draft special we saw out there. What do you think of the draft special, Josh? I'm sure you tuned in. I believe he took his headphone out, so now I just look ridiculous talking to myself. But there we go. He just sat back down.
Ooh, did you catch that, Gar? Those guys were pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably the best draft coverage I'm going to see for the rest of my life, unless they do it again next year, in which case that will be even better than this year somehow. But, Josh, I said I wanted to be off the air by 6:30. I didn't expect to be interrupted by such a long but yet incredibly impeccable draft special report. With 7 minutes, we kind of had 2 segments left, the Dynasty Draft and the Workshop for Fall Ideas. We definitely can't do both of them, or we could just very, very quickly go through them. I guess we'll just try and do that. For the Dynasty Draft, Josh, have you done any research yet? Our draft's on Sunday. Are there any guys you like you're picking at 10?
Well, I think I told you I could just go ahead and pick the most random person on the planet and still have a great chance of winning. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I've already added the likelihood of Kelvin Golden Corral Benjamin and Christian. Maybe I shouldn't do this Ponder. And my team's still looking pretty solid. But no, to answer, I have not done any research whatsoever. I'm just hoping that, nobody gets hurt.
That'd be the dream. I've got the 1-1 pick. There's Trevor Lawrence out there. There's Jamar Chase out there. There's Kyle Pitts out there. The possibilities are endless for what I could do at 1-1. So whoever has to pick behind me, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. So don't even try and get out of me. Okay.
Nate, never mind. You kicked me out.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say Nate doesn't listen to this, so you could tell us.
Nate's not even in the league, so yeah, Brian.
That's
picks,
why I said Nate got kicked out.
Brian picks right after me. So that's our Dynasty Draft coverage. We'll be back after that as well. Workshop outline for fall to inspire ideas. Josh, stud, dud, pick 'em, or your effort. Are we going to revisit those faulted ideas this fall?
Well, I think the stud dud and the pick 'em is something that we could revisit. But after today's hour-and-a-half long process, that last item about my effort is just, it's waning.
I feel
it's already in mid-season form.
I feel it, Josh. All right, so a couple new ideas we have. We'll be back to talk about in post-pod, but just to throw some feelers out there in case you guys want to give us feedback on what might be coming. A new segment we might do, it's called Gar's Gut, where I initially asked Josh, I just came up with the name, and then Josh said I could highlight food stadium items. If you'd want to see Gar's Gut segment like that, let us know. If you'd like to see Gar's Gut be a different segment, let us know. The $2 holla, I basically asked, I originally thought that was a good idea, but having kind of doubted myself this spring, what's really anyone's incentive to give us money? I mean, Brad literally just gave us a free $2 anyway, so I appreciate that. But if anyone else can think of a better way for us to incentivize you to pay us money, because we're at the point where we're not going to beg for money, but we will accept it because we're about $700 in purchases, and we have to pay to have our podcast hosted. So that's something. For the rival podcast, the championship, I got an idea for a new league called the Champions Branch Out. So it's basically a fantasy league where the prerequisite is you have to have won a championship in the last decade, and in that league you're going to try a bunch of different rules. So it's going to be Superflex, tight end premium, tiered PPR, IDP, all those crazy rules you've never had the chance to try. Champions go in and really prove their worth and prove that they haven't just mastered standard or PPR or 1 QB or 2 QB. The champions go in and prove what they are worth. So we were thinking we could do that as a podcast thing where kind of we get 4 people and the victorious POD gets 4 people and the Land of Goons gets 4 people, but there's kind of some overlap there, so maybe we'll get a couple extra people. But if any of those other podcasts listen to this and you're interested in like a championship league, a league for champions, and a league where we experiment with different rules to try and prove we're worth something, let us know. If you want more details on between now and the next podcast, I can text them to you. Josh, the heroes of yesteryear or glory days? Very briefly, what's that going to be?
The heroes of yesteryears. That's going to be a segment in which we will bring up plays from the past. So some of the highlights: the catch, the Minneapolis Miracle, the what's the one called? The Immaculate Reception, the butt fumble, helmet catch. We're going to be talking about those plays, the impact that they've had on our NFL as of today, and we are going to break it down from a fundamental standpoint and discuss the players that may not be remembered for those plays and how they contributed.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. Meme of the week, that's pretty simple. Do we have people, post memes to our Facebook page? Would anyone actually do that? And then Josh and I could pick our favorites. Meme of the week. And then Josh, weekly contest, very quickly. Bingo, scavenger hunting, etc. This was your idea. You put it in. What are you thinking?
First off, I don't remember typing that in, so it must have been during one of my afternoon boring times. I do think, and I know that I had moved the notes out of here because I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but I do think that I have the one surprise segment lined up to where I could get it working by the time we get to the regular season. I can show you afterwards, but I'd have to kill you, and I would never do this on my own. So
That's all good. You can show me another day. But those are kind of some of our rough ideas. We've got some other ones as well, maybe a guillotine league or a best ball league for the podcast play along in the fall. But again, we'll move into the outro here. We will have a podcast post-draft, whether we do it next week will probably be the best, or maybe 2 weeks from now, so we have a chance to really digest and not just sensationalize the news. But we will be back, so stay tuned. COVID is winding down, but I mean, there's no reason to not get your shot. You're going to be just fine. Do all that. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com, Facebook.com/HoodPod, and Anchor.fm/HoodPod are all the places you can find us. Josh, is there anything else you want to say before the draft tonight?
Go Packers, don't mess it up again.
God damn it!
Esto no es Pat McAfee.